Let's do it.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Ask Jason show. We go live every week answering your questions around business and marketing or anything else you want to ask Jason. So if you have any questions, just comment below. For those of you who don't know Jason, he is the founder of JPORT Media, an online ad agency which helps scale our clients to 7 figures and beyond. He also created the market domination method and teaches it in his private coaching program, the Market Domination Coaching, which if you're interested in joining, you can just head over to marketdominationcoaching.com and book a free game plan call. Okay, ready, Jason? We got a lot since this is the first episode.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say awesome intro and very good direct response of you for putting in, how they could work and the links. I love it. Good job. And yeah, well, we're getting over that camera shyness that we were talking about last week. So good job there on the intro. But yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. So let's see. First question. Okay. So first question from Ahmad. Ahmad asks, what do I tell my client when they press me for price without them telling me their budget?
Press me for price without telling me. Okay, so pretty much got it. So this is pretty much how every new freelancer or agency starts off, right? They come in and they sit there and say, all right, I don't want to say my price because I first need to know your budget. I first need to know if I could help you. I first need to, the help you part is fine, but they always come in and sit there and say, I need to know their budget. Well, what's your budget? The budget doesn't really matter. First thing that matters with anything is, can you actually help them? So when you're on a sales call and you're having these conversations with them and you're talking to someone and you're on with a prospect and you're sitting there saying, and they're questioning you about price. Hey, how much does it cost to work with you? How much does it cost to work with you? Number one, if they're saying that from the beginning of the phone call and they just come in straight with that, there's a problem there, right? Like, it's not so qualified. You have to figure out how to work with them. If it comes in at the end of the call, after you go over everything and they say, what's the price? Tell them the price. I'm a big believer in price transparency. You want to know how much it costs to work with me? There's no hidden prices. I'll tell you how much it costs to work with me. I'll tell you how much it costs to hire me. I'll tell you all the different prices, all the different ways you could work with me. But I will say that if I'm ever on a sales call and the prospect comes on and sits there and says, well, okay, Jason, how much does it cost to work with you? And before we even get into anything, or how much does your agency cost? Then the first thing I always say is, you have to stop and sit there and say, well, I have no problem telling you the price. I'd love to tell you the price. I'd love to tell you all the different ways you could work with me. And I will. I promise you there'll be full transparency. I'll tell you all the different ways you could work with me. But I don't even know if I could help you yet. And shouldn't that be the first thing that we try to figure out is, can I even help you? So why don't you tell me a little bit more about, why you're looking to solve this problem? Or why don't you tell me a little bit more about this? And you transition them back into a sales call. So when you're on a sales call, it's all about control and leverage, right? The person who asks the most questions wins. That's why really good salespeople, they say they ask around like 72 questions plus on a sales call, something ridiculous, because the one who asks the questions is the one who controls the conversation. So, that's the first thing. The first thing from anything you do before you go into price, before you go into budget, is, can you actually help the person? Because if they have $1 million budget and you can't add any value, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they're willing to pay $40,000 for your services. If you cannot help them, you have an ethical responsibility to tell them that and to not do business with them, and maybe refer them somewhere else or elsewhere. But if they're pushing you on price, again, that's where I would go. I would lean always with the, well, I don't even know if I can help you yet, and then transition them into a regular sales call.
Okay. All right. Next.
But don't be shy telling prices. At the end of a call, that's always the awkward. Every time I'm on the phone and I'm on the recipient end, I'm looking to hire, and I'm like, well, at the end, I'm like, well, that sounds awesome. Okay, cool. I have all my questions answered. How much does it cost to work with you? And they're like, well, Jason, and they start going. It drives me nuts when I go to buy a car, and that's what they tell. Like, it's such an old school sales tactic. Like, if you want to work with me and I did my job properly, price will never be the objection in the sales call, so I have no problem telling my price.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Ricky. Ricky asks, are TikTok ads performing well right now, similar to Facebook ads?
Are TikTok ads performing well right now, similar to Facebook ads? TikTok ads are not similar to Facebook ads. So no, they are not the same. They're not similar. TikTok from an organic standpoint, maybe even from an ad standpoint too, I guess I would say. It reminds me of early day Facebook, early day Instagram. But more so from the organic side. I think there's way more opportunity from an organic side. So I think if you're advertising, if you're using TikTok for advertising, many people are getting results, and I think it's a really low cost effective way. The cost of advertising on there is way cheaper than Facebook, for example. So a lot of people want to use it for a cold audience, or for prospecting, for people who don't know about the brand, to get out there and run ads. I think it's fine. I think it's good. But I think if you're going to make the direct comparison of, is this like Facebook or is this like something else, that's where you're going to get into a little bit of a problem. So I would say TikTok ads are good if you want to start, but I think the biggest problem for most brands is they don't have the creative to go on TikTok, right? They try to use their Facebook ad stuff and push it over to a different platform when TikTok itself is a completely different beast. So I would say if you're going to do that and you want to dial in on TikTok ads, make TikTok ads and then use those ads onto Facebook and Instagram. It works well that way. It doesn't work well the other way of transferring over. So many people are now want to diversify. They hate Facebook. Facebook's broken, whatever they want to say, and they want to move on to TikTok. The problem is they don't have the creative to move on to TikTok, and then it just fails because more than anything, and we've been talking about this for a long time, creative is the variable, more so on TikTok, right? If you make, shitty ads, it's not going to work. I don't know if you're allowed to swear on a live stream, but whatever. More so on TikTok, it won't work. So if you can make really good creative and you could do that, then you could leverage TikTok creative onto Facebook and Instagram, from a real standpoint. But I think from an organic standpoint, um, TikTok is just incredible for reach and whatnot. And there's so many different ways you could do it and build brand awareness, that so many people wish that they could go back to Facebook 2014, 2015 and sit there and say, I wish I had this organic reach again. Oh, I used to put out a post and I used to get so many eyeballs on just a post, and I never had to spend to amplify that post. I never had to spend to do anything like that. That's what TikTok is today. So from an ads platform, no, not as good as Facebook. And 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 you need the creative to make it work. From an organic standpoint, way better. If you want to build a brand, way better than Facebook.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. All right. So it looks like this next one is a little bit off topic, but an important question from Becca. Superman or Batman?
So I love this question only because I'm actually pretty passionate, maybe the wrong word, but I'm actually from a superhero standpoint, there is no better superhero than Superman, right? Like I mean, like there's just no better. He could fly. He shoots lasers. He can't get hurt. I mean, minus kryptonite, but every superhero has the weakness. He's just, it's crazy, right? He can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes, and you try to hurt him, and he can't get hurt. That's crazy. That's a superhero, right? He could do pretty much everything. Batman has no superpowers. He doesn't. Like, and I I get into this argument sometimes with people who are very diehard Batman fan, and trust me, I'm not diehard either of them. And I was like, there are comic book people who are way more into this than I am, but I don't believe Batman has any superheroes, any superpowers. I think I think he's where he's better than Superman is he's cooler. Like Superman's not that cool, right? He's a big strong guy, but Clark Kent as like the everyday person, or I guess what do you call it, like before he becomes a superhero? But Clark Kent, nerd, right? Like just like nothing cool about this guy. Bruce Wayne, badass, right? Like he's rich, successful, um, you know, gets all the ladies. Like he's like the man's man. Like that's kind of what you want. But from a superhero perspective, he's just strong and has cool tools like that. Like he has a cool car and whatnot. But talking about a car versus a guy who could fly. I mean,
Man
you're
can't
talking
fly.
Batman can't fly. He has repels, like he has repelling things that go up. Megan, if you don't know that Batman can't fly, we're in big trouble here, and we got to get you a couple of
It's a
comic
question
book.
for you.
But I mean, hands down, from a superhero standpoint, Superman all day. From a um, from from a coolness factor, Batman's pretty cool. He's dark. He's like, he has a little bit of an edge to it, to him. Uh, but no, I like like I saw the Superman versus Batman movie, and the fact that there was even a Superman versus Batman movie is just ridiculous because Superman could destroy Batman. I think that's just not shown enough. Like he should be able to shoot lasers at the guy, blow on him and freeze him. Right, like he could blow on people and freeze them, but then he has lasers out of his eyes that can melt people, and then he could fly away. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that is Superman.
All right. All right. Next up is from Sue. She asks, how do I target certain people like agency owners on Facebook if there's no interest category for agency owners?
How can you repeat the first part of that again? Sorry. How can you target?
How do I target certain people like agency owners on Facebook if there's no interest category for
Yeah.
agency owners?
Yeah. I mean, so number one is I think we could use agency owners as an example here, but I think this works well in the music space. I think it works well across different, if you're in the SaaS, like it works well if you're trying to target someone and that exact interest isn't there. So if you're like, hey, I'm trying to target DJs, for example, or club promoters or whatever it is, they're not an audience that you could actually target on platform. When you go into Facebook ads and you click, interest to target, that's not one of those things. So I think this is a really good question. And I think the number one way, if you really want to do it on cheap, if you don't have a big budget and you just want to put ads out there, is let your creative and copy do the work for you, right? So if you write really good copy and you're like, hey, club owners, right? And that's the copy, that's the first line, and that's just a really simplistic version of it. And then the video's tailored towards club owners, or let's use what's the name of this person?
Sue.
Sue. So Sue's example, agency owners. If you're like, hey, agency owners, or the number one problem for agency owners is, and you start that, and then your video is all about you talking to agency owners. Well, guess what? That copy and the creative are going to do a good job weeding everyone out. Because if I'm like a handyman and I'm going through it and I see, hey, agents, the number one problem for agency owners, guess what? I'm scrolling past it. Right? I'm not even clicking on it. I'm not even looking at it. I'm not even going at it. So you're disqualifying people right off the bat with your copy and your creative, which is, I think, one of the best ways to do it. Just make creative and copy that calls out the audience you're looking for. The other way you could do it, if you really wanted to get into the interest-based targeting, which is, I think, where Sue was kind of going with it, what interest can I use, is figure out the tools and software that these people use. So if agency owners, what are the tools and software that they're using? So are they using QuickBooks, for their accounting? Are they using, Infusionsoft? Are they using Active Campaign? Are they using ClickFunnels? Are they using all the different tools, Slack, all the different tools that you think an agency could be used, Trello, all the different tools that an agency may use? Those are the ones you want to target, because the people who like those or use those tools, they'll be targeted from Facebook with those interests. So I think you have two different ways. One is you could go the interest way, which is try to find tools, software, and that goes into knowing your avatar a little bit better. We always say this, you have to get so deep into understanding who your exact customer is. Like, what books do they read? What magazines are they reading? What trade shows are they attending? What blogs are they reading? What celebrities do they follow? You could go that big and build out that avatar. And those things are targetable So you may not be able to target agency owner, but you could target the tools we as an agency use that Megan inside our agency is using every day. And she may get called out at it and she may flag it and bring it to me, or I may see it and then sit there and say, hey, the number one problem for agency owners today. Well, I'm an agency owner. I want to stop and see what the number one problem is. And do I agree with it? And then, your ad and your copy and your creative have to do a good job selling me, and you have to sell the click. Do a good enough job for me to want to click through and go to your website and check out what you have to offer. So you have that way, or if you want to go really broad, is that the copy and targeting goes really broad. The copy and the creative goes if you're going really broad. But if you want to do interests, figure out the tools and software that they're probably using. I think that's one of the easiest ways to do it.
Okay. All right. So next.
By the way, tea in the morning over coffee. I did this for a while when we had, David from David's Tea on there. And this is not now from Firebelly, and this is not an advertisement for them at all. I do think they're cool. You can check it out. But when he was on and he told me that he gave up coffee and he drinks tea all the time, and this is just a rant off topic here. So we're probably going to lose people watching this right now. But I will say I tried it for a while and I absolutely loved it. And then I kind of, 2 little kids, I was exhausted in the morning. I kind of went back to the coffee, and now I'm back to tea in the morning. And I will say I feel a lot better drinking tea than I do drinking coffee. I don't know if that matters. That wasn't even a question from anyone, but just a statement as I'm drinking my tea that tea over coffee, underrated.
Was that a hard switch?
No, because I mean, I get the one with the caffeine. Like you get a black tea, you pick really good tea. This one's called No Ordinary Cup of Joe, so it actually has a little taste like coffee, which is really clever. But go and try tea in the morning. I mean, tea in the morning is really good, but coffee's hard to give up. And I did try and fail this experiment once before, but now I'm on day 1 again. I don't know what I'll be like tomorrow, but we'll check back next week and see where I'm at. Tea or coffee?
I might have to give it a shot too.
Let's make a note of that. Am I on tea or coffee next week? But I'm feeling a lot nicer. I rewatched the Q&A from last week. I found I was very edgy, very mean to some of those people. So I want to apologize. Like I came off very mean. I guess some of those questions just I get hit with so many times, and they sound like excuses to me rather than questions. But came off very mean. I think I'm nicer today. Megan, do you feel like I'm nicer today?
I will vouch for that, and let's keep up with the tea.
I'm nicer. I'm a lot nicer. Megan, who works for me, wants me to drink tea because she thinks I'm nicer. So now we have to have an offline talk of whether you think I'm mean to you on coffee. That just opened up a whole new thing. But I feel like I'm nicer to the people, or the questions are allow me to be nicer. I don't know, but either way.
Well, we'll see. The next one is from Ben. He asks, how did you get big name guests on your podcast, and how do I do the same? I think that's a good question.
Yeah. I had someone reach out to me on Facebook Messenger the other day from a group that I'm in, and they offered to pay me like an hour consult fee for me to come on and teach them how I get people on my podcast. And I said, this would be the shortest call we ever get on, and I cannot take any money from it. I'm just going to tell it to you right now, and I'm going to type it in here, and I'm going to tell you my exact strategy, because if we get on this call, it will end really fast, and then you'll feel bad that you spent this amount of money, and then you'll hate me because you'll be like, really? That's your answer? I ask. That's it. I ask. I think in 170 plus episodes, I think today was actually on 170 that went out today. In 170 plus, because we have more recorded, I've never paid for a guest. The closest thing I've come to that is bartering. I bartered, for a shout out from that person in order to get them on the podcast. And that was just an interesting person that filmed the whole like cameo for me, and I was able to get them on the podcast. It all just worked out. It was part of the price. It was never really to get them on the podcast. I wanted them to film an introduction for me. And then, by the way, I said, hey, by the way, in that price, can I get you on the podcast too? And they said yes. So, but in all that time, I've never paid for a guest. And I just ask, and I'm not afraid to ask, and I'm not afraid to hear no. Megan does most of the follow up for me, so she knows that it's just follow up until you die or they die or they say no, in which case it's okay, delay the follow up for 6 months and then start again. Um, you know, because a no is only a no at that moment, right? In this context, right? Like no is from when you're following up with someone or for a sale. No is only a no in the moment that you're in right now. But no doesn't mean it's closed, the door's closed for forever. And I think, it's a good segue into sales is you get a no from someone, most people let go, most people let up. Uh, we go a little bit more aggressive, but in a good way. Like we'll send direct mail out. We'll send, toy soldiers out to people that we really want to do business with. Like we will do our best to get in front of those people because I believe I could help them. And I believe, it's my duty and my mandate that if I believe I could help you and, do that, then I'm doing a bad job if I don't give it everything I have. But back to the podcast question, it's literally just asking. I reach out. It's a numbers game. You ask. They'll say no. Some of them will ask how many people you've had on before. I'm lucky that the first yes, I leveraged that into the second yes. And then once you have like Daymond John, Gary Vaynerchuk, Rebecca Minkoff, Randy, you have those names, they don't even ask you any more information about your podcast. Some do, which I find very insulting because you're not as big as some of the other names I have. So why are you asking me these questions? If these people came on, you should want to come on. But either way, it's literally just asking and building up a sequence of how do you follow up with them and not being annoying and not writing, hey, follow up number 3, or just checking in again, or hey, just making sure you saw this, right? They saw it. They didn't want to come on your podcast. So now give them a reason to come on your podcast. But I think the biggest problem is they reach too high, right? So, if I was just starting my podcast, episode 1 to 20, no real huge names, some bigger names in the space, like in the influencer space or whatnot, but no one really big until Gary Vaynerchuk came on. And Gary only came on because it was a deal. If I did 20 episodes, he would come on. But go back and watch those first 20 episodes. Like no one huge, but and I think that's the biggest mistake when people are starting a podcast. They want the big names, but trust me, if Gary came on episode 1, that episode would suck, would have been awful because I did not know how to ask questions. I did not know how to interview people. I did not know how to do any of these things. I needed to kind of cut my teeth on everyone else that allowed me to be okay with Gary. And now, like you go back and listen to the first episode, it's literally me sitting there saying, question number 1, how would you? And then they would give me gold, and I would be like, cool. Question 2. And that's pretty much the format of the show. It was awful. Gary would have hated it. It would have ended within 5 minutes. And there's no way I would have got podcast number 2, which is coming. Because that episode was so successful, Gary agreed to do podcast number 2. So I would say reach for big names, sure. But really, like Gary told me to do 20 episodes because he knew most podcasts fail after around 8 episodes. Everyone wants to start a podcast. It sounds great to start a podcast. And then they do it and realize, oh, I got to edit it. I got to do all this. I got to do all that. Now we have people that do the editing for us and break clips up for us, and Megan sees those clips, and we post some content and whatnot. But before that, it was literally me going in, writing show notes, making sure I had an intro and an outro, plugging them in myself. Which is great because I can still do that on the fly right now. If I record something fast and I need it out there, I know how to do it, and I don't have to wait for a team to do it for me. But at the same time, I think it's good to cut your teeth and learn how to ask questions and learn how to do these things and actually see if this is what you really want. Because trust me, you get a big name person on your podcast, and then that's episode 1, and you never do another episode after that. Good luck building that relationship with that person. Like no one wants to be your first episode, and no one wants to be like the last episode unless it's like episode 6,600 million of the Joe Rogan show and this is his farewell episode. Then everyone wants to be on that, but no one wants to be the first and last.
Good. Okay. From Fred, how do I know when to turn off an ad if it doesn't look like it's working?
I mean, so many variables go into this, but let's be simplistic. I'll tell you my general rule of thumb, and I will caution everyone to this is why it's so important to know your numbers. and understand what works for you. But generally, as a rule of thumb, we like to give an ad around 3 times CPA. So what does that mean? It means if your cost for acquiring a customer on that platform is $40, we try to get an ad to spend at least $120 or 80 to 120, 2 to 3 times. 3 is better, maybe even more. I would say even if you can, 3 to 5 times CPA. So anywhere from $120. So if your cost to acquire a customer on that platform, so let's say on Facebook, is $40 on average, and that's good for you, I would sit there and say, all right, let's give this ad. And this is why having historical data and knowing, how much this comes out to. That's why, then I would say 2 to 3 times that. If you have a high priced object, especially if you have a lower cost product, it may need a bit more. It may need a bit more time to get out there. So like if you have a $10 product, wouldn't necessarily run $30 towards it. Like that's not enough. I'd probably do like 50 to like 75 at least if you have a $10 cost per acquisition on something. But yeah, that's generally our rule of thumb internally for like the media buying team here and what they do. But I'd caution you to know your numbers and know what makes sense for you.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. We have a question.
I have a question in the comments, which is cool.
Do what?
Can you see the comments? Like if you click on comments in the like, can you see comments? Like,
no. I'm not sure. Oh, the comments?
yeah. Can you
yeah.
Can you see like there's a Danny wrote Marshall Downs wrote. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a question from Marshall. He's paying attention.
Okay.
And thanks, Danny, for agreeing with me. Like, yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. What am I doing?
Let's take Marshall's question, and then we'll go back to all the people who submitted after. But we're here now. Someone's paying attention. Let's get their questions answered.
Okay. Well, I don't see Marshall's question. I don't think.
All right.
I don't know. I think my screen's different.
All right. We'll figure this out. So Marshall asked, can you provide marketing guidance for a small tech startup with limited financial resources to open a new geographical market? Provide marketing guidance for a small tech startup with limited financial resources to open up a new geographical. I mean, we kind of chatted about that kind of last week, which was like, how do you market on a limited budget? But I mean, what are you trying to market? Are you trying to get people? Are you trying to test the product, or are you trying to get your tech your SaaS or whatever it is, your tech in the hands of people? If you're trying to get or you're trying to open up in a new geographical market, I mean, you could run ads locally to just that market. That's not expensive. You could get by like anyone within a 20-mile radius, or you could target a geographical location. That's not insanely expensive. But if you're like, hey, we got no financial resources to do any marketing whatsoever, then you got to pick up the phone and go knock on doors. I mean, that just costs time, right? You have to pick up the phone and call. Direct mail costs, right? Like you could send out direct mail to all these people, which works. Like direct mail, I love direct mail. I talk about it a lot. That works, but that has a cost to it. So if you're telling me you have zero financial budget to do any marketing, then you can't even do direct mail, and that's stamps and photocopies. But I would say direct mail works. No budget whatsoever, joint ventures. Find someone who has the list of the people who live in your geographical location that sell that is similar to you but not competition, and try to do a joint venture startup with them where they give you access to the list. They'll either email the list, mail the list, or do whatever. It's a way of you tagging on to them. Pick up the phone and call everyone. Look, everything in life, there's time and money. Those are the only two currencies. We talked about this last week. If you want to save time, you got to spend money. If you want to save money, you got to spend time. It's just a matter of what you value most. And I'm very, very open about this, that I pay for speed. I much rather pay and find out my results quickly than bleed it out over a long period of time and spend a lot of time trying to do it. I'd rather just know, is this going to work, and move on, than spend years trying to figure it out. But that's kind of what I would do. If you're trying to open up a geographic location, limited budget, ads, run ads towards that geographical location, the same way we talked about in the beginning of the show, the different targeting strategies that you could use. Direct mail, joint ventures, all work. Picking up the phone, calling the people that you're trying to sell it to, sell this up or to, cold calling, cold emailing, man, they all work. Just people just want, I'm not saying you, Marshall, but most people just want that quick pill, or that silver bullet of what can I do? Where can I put $5 out and just generate this? Doesn't exist. So it's just time.
Okay. Okay.
Let's sip more tea. I was getting a little bit mean there, but
okay. Let's see. Okay, so here's a question from Steve. You are always saying that Facebook is a mess, but it's the best ads platform out there. How can it be both?
Steve, listening to my content. Love it. Thank you. I appreciate it. How can it be both? It's a hot mess because iOS happened. Reporting sucks inside there. Part of it Facebook's fault, part of it not Facebook's fault. I mean, they can't fix the reporting. They can fix certain reporting. They can't fix the tracking issues and the signal loss. They're getting better at it. They're working on stuff. I would say it's a hot mess because the reporting inside there is basically useless, right? Like, you're flying blind for most part of the time in there. It doesn't map out to what's actually going on when you look at the metrics that matter most, which is if you're selling something, the money inside your bank account and the money you make. But so I say it's a hot mess that way. But I say it's the best because still there's no ad platform with that much power still from a demand generation standpoint. So you have to understand Google is different than Facebook because Facebook is demand capture, right? It lets you go out there and get in front of people. Google is intent search in hopes that you go in front of them, that you get in front of them. So it's good for demand recapture. That's why most of the time when you look at anything, when someone shows me how well they're doing on Google Ads, I always tell them exclude branded search, which is their own name and keywords. And then it's not so good anymore because it's not a great prospecting tool right now. There are some people who use it really well. I guess it depends what niche you're in. Like if you're in a restaurant space, it's good to be good at Google Ads because demand is there. Like if I'm looking for pizza shops, my demand is there. The intent is there. So I better hope that I'm popping up first so I can capture those people. But yeah, that's the reason why I say look, I still think it's the best advertising platform in the world. It sucks that they haven't figured it out. They've lost, last time I read, around $10 billion plus. I think it's closer to $12 billion because of what happened with iOS. You would think that they would figure this out. They're losing billions and billions of dollars. So my bet is that they do figure it out. But I mean, yes, it is a hot mess right now, but still the best advertising platform. So that's how I answer that question.
All right. Let's see. Okay, from Emma. Emma asks, starting my entrepreneurial ventures,
Good job.
What book do you think I should read first?
Megan, what book would I say Emma should read first?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
There you go. Perfect.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I think it's funny because it doesn't really teach you about how to start a business. I mean, there's some stuff in there, but I think, that's the book I gifted Megan, right? Like I think anyone who if you're a boss right now, that's the book you should gift every single employee when you onboard them. If people understand, and let's have that conversation, right? I'll use Megan as the example, and I'll pick on Megan here, but Megan understanding finances, right? And understanding how it works, the different ways the financial system work and how to get better at it and how to get better at personal finance, let's say, how does that benefit me as a boss? Well, if Megan understands how the game works, guess what? She's going to want to make more money. And if she's going to want to make more money, great. Everyone in my business is a salesperson. She could go out and sell more. She gets hungrier to make more money. And that's not hungrier to walk into someone's office and be like, hey, can I get a raise? It's hungrier being like, okay, what additional value can I add that brings more money for me? And I'm done picking on Megan, but that's the book I'd read, because if you understand, you're starting your entrepreneurial venture, if you understand the importance of money and get your money mindset right, which I think most people have a broken money mindset. I had a broken money mindset. I had a coach that worked very long and hard on me, and which is why I'm not shy about talking about money, because I think it's so taboo. Don't talk about money. Don't. No, I think that's a problem, right? I think it's a broken mindset that we're treating money as if it's something like money is infinite. It's replenishable, right? Everyone everyone has it. It's circulating. There's billions of dollars of sales going on. There's billions of transactions that go on every single day. So if you understand, and the reason why I say Rich Dad Poor Dad for you, Emma, is because if you're reading that book and you understand, you're like, okay, this is how the game's played, but in order to really play that game and maximize it, I need more money. Guess what? You get better at business, because you now go into your business venture being like, okay, margins are important. How do I capture more money? How do I get better at sales? Because sales are important. I need them. I want the money. I want the cash flow. Then you start learning how to invest it, assets and liabilities. You start learning all that, which give you a huge edge, because now you're running the game properly and you have a machine that's pumping money into the game that you're playing. So I think the biggest tragedy in a school system, and um, I think there's lots of problems with the school system, but I think one of the biggest failures is them not teaching personal finance. It's probably the most important lesson you'll leave learning school. Yes, I mean, reading's important, but theoretically, if I never wanted to read, I have Audible, I have Speechify, which is an app that could read everything to me. Like, I don't really need to read. There are a lot of successful people that are dyslexic or can't read. Um, you know, learning how to show your work on a calculus exam, or on a math exam. I have calculators. I have Google, like which president, who was the fourth president and what did they do. I have Google for that. Like it's different, right? The world's different than what it was when I went to school, and you didn't have all these things that you didn't have. Hey Siri, tell me who the fourth president was, and Siri will tell you, right? And so now it's just memorizing. I think we're better off learning tools that actually happen that benefit in real life. So that's why I always recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not a business book. It's not a skill book that's going to be like, hey, here's how I get better at marketing. Here's how I get better at sales. But mindset around money is the most important thing when starting a business. And I wish I read that book when I started my first business. I wish I started the book when I started this business. I think I'd be light years ahead of where we are right now. But that's the reason why I say it. You get your own head right first around money, understand finances, understand why you're starting the entrepreneurial journey. It will keep you passionate about doing it, because you're going to get hit with a lot of no's. You're going to get hit with a lot of rejection. Understanding why you're in there, and why there's so many benefits to being an entrepreneur. Um, that's really how to make it work.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. All right. So let's see if we have any more. Okay. Joey asks, Joey says, I want to do a video show, but I hate how I look on camera. What advice do you have?
Do a podcast. Right? Don't do a video show, right? You don't have to be on camera for a podcast. I hate how I sound on like my voice. I cannot listen to my own podcast. I don't like the way I look on camera. I have the same insecurity as everyone. I just don't care enough anymore. Right? Like I don't care. Like the insecurities I see aren't the insecurities that you necessarily see about me. And if they are, who cares? Right? Like I don't care. I'm not here to like when I started the podcast, I hated the way I sounded. I picked it apart. That's going to prevent you from doing podcast number 2. When I first put myself out on video, I think I released this a while ago. We should release it again. It took me almost an hour to do a 1 30-second video because there were so many outtakes, because I was so in my own head. I was so trying to get everything perfect. I was so trying to do everything right. What we're doing right now, like just me rolling up in a t-shirt and they're just like jumping on, being like, let's go live and let's chat, would have never done a few years ago. Like just so many insecurities, so many different things going on in my head. You just do it. Like if you think your podcast could help people, if you're doing it from a lead generation standpoint, right? If I believe doing this helps people and my mission is to help more people, how I look, how I sound, how doesn't matter. I care more about the message you're hearing than the face and the sound of the voice delivering it. Can you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Can you interpret it? Can you run with it? That has to override. If I was doing something, if I was filming an ad and I was putting myself on video to film an ad, well, guess what? I may hate the sound of it. I may hate the look of it, but it's to put food on the table for my family, right? That's business. That matters more than anything else. So I think it's easier said than done. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I was in your shoes and I started a video show. I started a podcast. I record the podcast. I put up the videos. I put out almost 3 pieces of content every single day on every single platform. It's literally just repetition. Like the first time you go into a new place, you're uncomfortable until you start, and then you go the second time and things become a little bit normal. And then you start meeting people. People who meet me think that I'm this extrovert. When I go to a conference or I go somewhere for the first time, I like sit in the corner for the first like 10 minutes or whatever until I find someone I know. I'm like everyone else, and then I latch on to that person until like I start warming up. I need to assess the situation, which is why doing these shows and doing podcasts was so hard for me, which is why I started interviewing people, right? I had someone else to come on. Megan, technically, maybe for being on the show, could be my crutch. Maybe that's my insecurity. I didn't want to go live and just read a bunch of questions to myself and be by myself. So I brought a crutch on with me. Could be. I don't know. I think I filmed a lot of content where I think I'd be okay going live by myself. It's more fun to have the banter with you. But it's one of those things that if you want to do a video show because you want to get a message out, but you hate the way you look, podcasts are a great way to do it. You don't have to go on video. If you're doing it because of some insecurity and that's the only reason, and you think like you're fine, you're just scared to do it, I would say do it. Like no one's gonna watch in the beginning anyways. I mean, like still now, like we're still growing this. Like no one's watching like in the beginning so much. Make the mistakes, go out, just get better, build the confidence. It's not like you're gonna have 10,000 people join in on your first video call, and now you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? You're gonna have maybe 0 or 1, and if you don't like it, you could delete it, which I highly recommend you don't do. But just learn how to talk, learn how to get it going, and that's what I would do. But I absolutely can't listen to any of my podcasts or watch back any of my own footage. I'm the same way.
Yeah, I just think don't overthink it too much.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Any more? From Lionel. What tool or software do you use that you couldn't live without right
now? From a business standpoint, I would say Slack. I mean, Megan knows this. Like my whole life, and pretty much from a business standpoint, and even Megan helping me with my day-to-day stuff is kind of run entirely through Slack. We have other tools like, I mean, yeah, you can't get by with Zoom, and you need all the different, like you have all these different tools as well. Zoom, like whatever project management tool you use. But for me right now, it's Slack, because all that integrates into Slack. Like I get notified about every single thing inside Slack, up to my travel, my speaking gigs, my podcast, the content that goes out, client relationships, just finance stuff, reporting, everything just happens inside Slack. A lot of it Megan is on top of, and she does it, and she like pings me, but a lot of it can be automated too. And that's how you get notifications. So for me, from that side, from that standpoint, um, Slack has been the best tool for me. And in terms of growth, I think it freed up just a lot more time. And I think like there's there's no I don't think it's a coincidence that since we've fully moved everything over to Slack, like we've had less client like not like less the need for client like calls one like always, or like client issues get solved faster. We're able, customer service is done better, account management's done better, and the business they've been able to grow because of that. Because if you're being bogged down by 100 emails from clients and then needing to jump on calls to solve things, um you know like Loom, you can film a video and send it to them in Slack. Like it's there, and they're probably it's funny, almost every client gave us problems, right, about wanting to move to Slack. Um but all of them now love it because they don't want to jump on like they may want to talk to you, but no one wants to give up a half an hour. Like they're busy. Like if you're working with successful businesses, they're busy. They don't want to jump on an hour call just to solve something. So it's like, hey, can you just film a video on how I could do this and let me solve it in my own time? And I'll watch this in 2 hours or whatever. Or no, I can only meet you at 2 p.m. Oh, I can't do 2. Can you do 2:30? No, I can't do 2:30. Can you do 5? No, I can't do 5. Let's do tomorrow. Like that's a nightmare. But when you could just communicate like that, I think that opened us like a lot of free time to focus on growth and to focus on the business.
Right. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Okay. Okay, we have another one we have from Kate. Need help prioritizing my time. My calendar is a mess. I just can't seem to find time to work on the business. Any tips?
I mean, pretty good like follow-up question. Um, for me, my best tip was hire someone, right? That's why I hired Megan. Megan's job was to sit there and be like, your email box is a mess, your calendar is a mess, everything is a giant mess. How do you even get anything done? And then just be like, I got this, and kind of take control, and kind of be like, let's clean this up. Now I think a lot of it, and I'm grateful to Megan for solving a lot of those issues for me, of making sure time's done and making sure people get responded to, and I could focus on the business and do what I need to do as CEO, as an owner. I could go do what I need to do in order to grow the business and not get bogged down into administrative stuff. Um, but I think a lot of it also came from like understanding how to structure my day. I filmed a video a while, like a couple weeks ago. You can go check it out on YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/Jason Portnoy, or just look me up. And it's around what I call the 4 Ps, which is what I learned from my mentor, Harley Finkelstein, which is just how do you structure your day is so important. And I'll tell you the 4 Ps just from an overview, and then please go watch that video because I break it down even more. But if you have like your 4 Ps are promotion, production, provision, pedestrian, right? Those are the 4 Ps. So the first important part of growing a business or is promotion, right? You need sales, right? So if someone has a credit card and they want to charge you, but you're busy booking your flight to go somewhere, no. Taking the credit card is number one for your business. Money into your business is number one. So everything comes down to promotion. How am I promoting my business? How am I getting myself out there? That could be doing this live show, right? Like that gets you to go to jportnoy.com, gets you to go to Market Domination Coaching and book a game plan call. Like those are all the different ways. This is promotion for me. So it gets done in the morning. Production is anything that I need to do. So if I need to write an email, if I need to write a sales letter, I need to do those things. That's production. I need to film content for something. That's production. So that will get done second. That's second in priority. The third priority is provision, which is anything I'm obligated to do, but doesn't necessarily bring me money. So, I run a coaching program. I have to be on those calls, right? I have to do one call a week. I have to show up and be on there. I have to be inside the app and make sure I'm responding to people's questions. That's my obligation. I am paid to do that, but it doesn't make me more money. I'm obligated to do it. And then pedestrian is anything else that doesn't fall into it. So like you need to go buy toothpaste, you need to go book a flight, you need to do all those things. If you don't have an amazing assistant that could do all these things for you and book those things for you, that's where it would fall in. So that would be the end of the day. Now, that's kind of how we do it. Now there's workarounds around that, but I think the biggest thing came from also knowing how I structure my days. That we have one day that's for podcasts. So you want to be on a podcast, you want me on your podcast, you want me to be on a podcast, it's going to be on Friday. Unless it's like extenuating circumstances, my recording days are on Fridays. My business, client, meetings, things like that, those days are on Thursdays. So you look at my Thursdays are probably my most jam-packed days because it's like, hey, someone emails Megan, hey, can I get a meeting with Jason and blah, blah, blah. And we feel that it's the right fit and you want a meeting and it's not a sales call, but it's a meeting where a client needs to talk about something from a macro point of view and can't talk to the media buyer, but wants to talk to me privately. It will happen on a Thursday. Sales calls happen. That's promotion. A sales call is promotion. So I will jump on a sales call on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday if I need to. But everything else, I structure my day that way so that I'm not bogged down. My calendar's not a mess where it's like, oh, now I'm writing this amazing sales letter, but oh no, I got to go appear on a podcast. I got to film a podcast. Or oh no, now I got to jump on this call. We still have those issues here and there, but I think we've gotten very, very good at solving that by breaking those days down and understanding where they fall into the 4 Ps. So if you need help structuring your day or you feel like you're losing time somewhere, that's 100% what I would do is I'd go watch that video on the 4 Ps and then learn how to break your days out into important days. So if you're filming content, make that one day. If you're if you're a solopreneur and it's only you talking to clients, make all your client calls on one day, fit them all in one day, and then use the other days to grow your business.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I think that's all the questions I'm seeing on my end.
Cool. I mean, look, if you have any questions, we're doing this weekly. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Megan will go through comments and pick questions that weren't necessarily answered on this call, and we'll do it next call. If you are interested in learning more to work together or see what we have to offer, head on over to jportnoy.com. It's at the bottom of the screen right now. And figure out, see if we can provide value to you. But if not, happy to do this weekly, happy to jump on calls and do these live calls and answer all your questions. This is my favorite thing to do. Megan knows that. I love doing Q&As and I love doing rapid fires and I love being fed questions and answering and providing value that way. It's why I started the agency. It's why I started a coaching program. Megan, thank you so much. Amazing job intro. I love the new Megan, not camera shy anymore. All right, everyone. See you next week.
All right. Bye.